So this week in AI, right, it's like everyone's playing a giant game of chess.
Oh, absolutely.
With these major players making these huge moves, and the whole board's shifting.
Yeah.
And we're here to, like, break it all down.
Absolutely. We're here to help you understand the strategy, behind all these moves.
Exactly. So our source this week is the AI Weekly Talent Radar, which gives us, like, a sneak peek at, like, who's going where in the AI world. And I gotta say, some serious talent.
Oh, yeah.
Is moving around right now.
It's really interesting to see how these kind of shifts, with leadership and just expertise.
Yeah.
How that's going to shape, the future of AI.
For sure, for sure. And speaking of shaping the future, I think we got to start with probably the biggest news this week.
Okay.
Jeffrey Hinton wins a Nobel Prize, the godfather of neural networks.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It is a really big deal.
Yeah.
And, it's very well deserved, especially considering all of his work on deep learning.
Right.
Especially the backpropagation algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah. So backpropagation, I got to admit, that one's always been kind of a head scratcher for me.
Okay, sure.
Can you break that down?
Yeah. So basically backpropagation is, it's how neural networks learn from their mistakes.
Right. Okay.
So think about it like when you're learning to ride a bike.
Okay.
And you kind of adjust your balance based on how you're leaning.
Right.
Backpropagation is essentially the same thing for AI systems.
Got it.
But it's happening with, tons of data at incredibly fast speeds.
Okay.
So it's like you're learning to ride a bike, but you're doing it like a million times a second.
Right. So it's like AI's way of course correcting itself, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So Hinton figures out this revolutionary way to make AI smarter, wins a Nobel Prize, and then kind of starts warning everyone about it. Like, hey, this thing I just built, watch out for this.
Well, it really speaks volumes about his integrity and just his deep understanding of kind of what this means for the future.
Yeah.
He's not just, focused on the achievement, but also urging some caution.
Right.
We need to be thinking about responsible development and ethics and all of that.
So it's like he's saying, hey, I opened this Pandora's box, everyone,
Yeah.
We got to be careful about what we let out.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it highlights this key point.
Yeah.
It's not just about, building the most powerful, fastest AI. It's about building it the right way.
Right. Because if things go wrong with this, it could go wrong very, very quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the smarter they get, the more important it is to have those safeguards in place.
Right. Which brings us to another big name who loves to make headlines.
Okay.
Elon Musk, never one to shy away from a challenge, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
His XAI company is on a hiring spree.
Okay.
And they're looking for AI tutors.
Interesting.
Which sounds like they're trying to find, like digital babysitters for their AI. Like, what's going on there?
So not quite babysitters. Think of them more like specialized trainers. They're going to shape how these algorithms think.
Right.
And really how they interact with the world. They're working on something called data annotation.
Okay, data annotation. So that sounds pretty technical.
Yeah.
But explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay, so imagine like you're teaching a child to recognize different animals.
Okay.
So you show them pictures of cats and dogs and birds, and you label each one.
Right.
Data annotation is basically that, but you're teaching a computer instead of a child.
Got it.
So you're creating this massive training manual, but instead of pictures of animals, it's all the data in the world.
Wow. Okay, so it's like all the data in the world is being used to teach this AI.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. And in the case of XAI, are we talking about like news articles, books, like what kind of data?
So it could be anything
from
news articles, scientific papers, to, maybe even tweets and social media posts.
Wait, hold on. Did you say tweets? Like from X, formerly Twitter?
Yeah, it's a possibility.
So he's going to use all of our rants about our lunch and our cat videos and use that to train AI.
It seems like a real possibility. And it raises some questions about, potential bias and what we're actually feeding these AIs.
Right, because what we teach them is going to shape how they see the world, right?
Exactly.
So if we're feeding them all this, internet drama and conspiracy theories.
Let's just say there's a risk we might not like the results.
Okay, that's both exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Right.
But before we spiral into an existential crisis, let's maybe switch gears for a second.
Yeah.
And talk about a couple of other major players making moves this week. Apple and Meta.
2 giants.
Right.
And both are going through some significant internal shifts right now.
Okay.
Apple It seems like they're having a bit of an executive exodus.
Really?
Their
Wow.
chief people officer left after less than 2 years,
Wow.
along with a few other, key figures.
So knowing Apple, it's probably all very hush-hush. Lots of NDAs.
For sure.
What's your take? Is this just Apple being Apple, or is there something bigger going on?
Well, I mean, Apple's always played their cards close to the chest, right?
Right.
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
This could be a planned transition, could be a shift in strategy.
Yeah.
Maybe they're gearing up for a big product launch, or there's, who knows, maybe some internal power struggle.
It's like a corporate mystery.
Exactly.
Right. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, over at Meta, Zuckerberg seems to be playing a different game.
Okay.
One with fewer players, it seems.
Fewer players.
Yeah, job cuts at Instagram, Reality Labs, WhatsApp.
Oh, wow.
It's like he's cleaning house.
Yeah, it seems that way. But it's important to remember that Meta is huge.
Right.
They're involved in so many different things.
Right.
So these job cuts could just be part of a larger strategy.
Okay.
Streamlining operations, focusing on the core areas of growth.
And by core areas of growth, I'm guessing you mean the metaverse?
You got it. Despite, some setbacks and people kind of being unsure about the whole thing,
Right.
Zuckerberg seems pretty set on making it a reality.
Yeah.
So these kind of restructuring moves, this might be his way of going all in.
So he's trimming the fat, tightening the belt,
Yeah,
and just like full speed ahead on the metaverse.
pretty much. We'll
Yeah.
see if it pays off. But one thing's for sure, Zuckerberg's playing the long game here.
Okay, so we've got Apple keeping us guessing, Meta diving headfirst into the metaverse, Elon Musk potentially unleashing an army of Twitter-trained AI bots on the world. I need to sit down for a minute.
And we're just getting started.
Wait, there's more? Don't tell me, let me guess. It involves sentient robots and a race against time to save humanity.
Not quite.
Okay.
But it does involve some really fascinating developments in artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
Okay, so now we're talking about like the kind of AI that could be smarter than us.
Yeah, basically.
The sci-fi stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I think we need to take a deeper dive into that. But we're going to save that for next time.
That's it.
Because I don't want to overload everyone with too much excitement all at once.
Right. Better to pace ourselves.
Exactly. Welcome back to the deep dive where we're, exploring all the crazy stuff happening in AI, right? Nobel Prize winners, tech CEOs, building the metaverse, and
It's a lot to keep track of.
it really is. It really is. And speaking of, big moves, remember that Microsoft exec who made headlines by jumping ship to OpenAI?
Oh, Sebastian Bubek, yeah, definitely made a splash with that move.
Yeah.
Going from, leading generative AI at Microsoft to joining OpenAI.
Yeah, it's not every day you see someone leave what is essentially a tech giant
Right.
to join. I mean, OpenAI is influential, but it's still a smaller company. What's the story there?
So Bubek, his real expertise is generative AI, right?
Hmm.
And specifically large language models.
Okay.
And, these are the models behind like all the cool AI stuff we're seeing, like chatbots, content creation tools, all that.
So like the AI that can, write a poem or... Yeah.
Write you a song.
Exactly. The stuff that makes you wonder if robots are going to be taking our jobs soon.
Right, right. So he leaves Microsoft, goes to OpenAI, which is, they're really pushing the boundaries of what these models can do.
Absolutely. I mean, it's possible he just wanted to be, part of something truly revolutionary, right?
Right.
To contribute to research that could, completely change how we think about AI.
So it's not even like a corporate rivalry thing.
I mean, maybe a little, right?
It's like he's just chasing the future of intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. The allure of AGI, systems that can think and learn like humans.
Whoa.
That's a powerful motivator for a lot of these researchers.
Right, because that's almost like a godlike power in a way.
You could say that. Anyway,
to create something that can think on its own.
It's huge. But, you mentioned earlier, those large language models need tons of data.
Oh, yeah. And it makes me think about, Musk's XAI and all that data from X. What happens when you train an AI on something as messy as the internet?
Right, because the internet is like, the good, the bad, the ugly, all mixed together.
All of it, yeah. And then that's something AI ethicists really worry about. Because if we're not careful, these models could pick up on all the bad stuff, too.
So instead of objective AI, we end up with an AI that's just reflecting all the worst parts of, who we are.
It's a possibility. Imagine an AI that learns from social media, right?
Oh, no.
All that, hate speech, misinformation.
Right, and then it just, amplifies it.
Exactly. It can learn to perpetuate that.
It's like a nightmare scenario, right? Where AI just makes everything worse.
It's a risk we have to think about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's clear we're in, like, uncharted territory here, right? The decisions we make about AI now could have huge consequences later on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why it's so important, to be having these conversations involve ethicists, social scientists. We need more transparency in AI development, for sure.
It's like greater power, greater responsibility, right? Except now we're talking about the power to, like, change what intelligence even means.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. So, I mean, what can, like, the average person do to make sure AI is being developed responsibly, besides, maybe logging off Twitter for a bit?
Well, for starters, stay informed. Learn about the potential benefits and risks.
Right.
Engage in, critical thinking.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything you see online. And, support organizations that are pushing for ethical AI.
So be an AI literacy advocate.
Exactly. The future of AI isn't set in stone.
Right.
It's something we're all kind of building together through the choices we make.
I like that, shaping the future. But speaking of shaping the future, we haven't really talked about Apple and their whole executive shakeup. What are your thoughts on Apple's strategy, if they even have one, when it comes to AI? Are they even in the race, or are they happy just, making iPhones and calling it a day?
Well, they've been pretty quiet compared to, the Microsofts and Googles of the world.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they're not investing. Apple's always been good at keeping their plans under wraps.
Yeah, they're very secretive.
And their focus on, user privacy.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Could make them a little hesitant to go all in on these data-hungry AI models.
Right. Right.
But remember, Apple's been putting AI into their products for years.
Yeah.
Siri, facial recognition, all that.
Right. Just like under the hood.
Right. So they're taking a more subtle approach, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Embedding AI into our lives without us even realizing it, maybe.
Exactly. So who knows? Their next big AI move might not be a big announcement, but just like a seamless update to the Apple ecosystem.
Interesting. Like what? Give me an example.
I don't know, maybe even a jump into the metaverse, but with an Apple spin on it.
A metaverse where everyone's wearing like digital turtlenecks?
Something like that. You never know with Apple. They always have something up their sleeve.
That's for sure. Okay, well, while we're speculating about the future of Apple and the metaverse, let's not forget about the company that's been, betting big on virtual worlds for a while now. Meta. We talked about Zuckerberg streamlining, doubling down on his metaverse vision, but what does that even look like? Are we all going to be living in VR headsets 5 years from now?
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't think we'll all be ditching the real world anytime soon.
Right.
But it's clear Zuckerberg sees the metaverse as, the next big thing.
Right.
The next computing platform. It could change how we work, how we play, how we connect.
So it's more than just strapping on a headset and escaping into a video game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg's talking about a future where, the line between the physical and digital worlds just gets blurry.
Okay.
Imagine virtual meetings that actually feel like you're in the room, working on projects together in these virtual spaces, going to concerts from home.
Oh, wow.
But you're really there.
Yeah.
It's immersive.
So it's all the best parts of real life.
Right.
But without the, traffic and the crowds.
The pants, maybe.
Right. Maybe you don't have to wear pants in the metaverse. Who knows? But, okay, let's be realistic for a second. Do we even have the tech to make this metaverse thing happen? Yeah. Or is this all just, Zuckerberg's wishful thinking?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
VR has gotten a lot better, but it's still early days.
Right.
We've got challenges. The headsets are still kind of clunky, motion sickness,
right,
privacy concern.
Right. And what about addiction? People just escaping into this virtual world.
Exactly. A lot of things to figure out.
Yeah, it sounds like Meta's taking a big gamble here.
They are, for sure.
Yeah.
But whether or not the metaverse lives up to the hype, one thing's clear.
Okay.
The race is on. Everyone's trying to build the future of virtual worlds.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll be doing this whole deep dive thing from our virtual living rooms.
Who knows?
Sipping digital cocktails, talking about AI. Okay, but for now, let's step back from the metaverse for a minute and revisit a topic that I think is super important. We briefly touched on Dr. Shel Gentleman.
Oh, right, yeah.
And her work on, making scientific knowledge available to everyone.
Open science?
Yeah, open science. I think her story deserves a deeper dive, don't you think?
For sure. She's doing really important work.
Tell me more. What is it about her approach that's so different?
So traditionally, scientific research has been very,
Like closed off.
yeah, like data and findings, they're often locked behind these paywalls,
Right.
journal subscriptions. And Dr. Gentleman, along with her colleagues at NASA, they're trying to break down those barriers.
So instead of like hoarding all this data, they're
Yeah.
sharing it with the world.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
And their thinking is, it's simple, but it's powerful.
Hmm.
By making scientific data open and accessible. They're creating opportunities for collaboration and innovation that just wouldn't be possible otherwise.
Right, because now you've got people from all over the world
Exactly.
who can contribute. Right. Not just these, like, elite scientists in fancy labs.
That's about democratizing science.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but how does this all tie back to AI? Because we're supposed to be talking about AI, right?
Yeah, right, we are. But think about it. One of the biggest challenges in AI development is access to good data.
Right.
And by making scientific data open, Dr. Jenneman is helping to level the playing field for AI research.
Oh, okay. So open science is good for science.
Yes.
But it's also good for AI because it gives these AI models more to learn from.
Exactly. More data, more perspectives. It's good for everyone.
It's like two heads are better than one, but in this case, it's more like thousands of heads are better than a handful.
Exactly. And the more collaboration we have in AI,
Yeah.
the more likely it is that the benefits of AI will be shared by everyone.
It's like a win-win. And we're back for one last deep dive into the world of AI. We've covered some pretty big ground today, from Nobel Prizes and executive shakeups to the metaverse and, the quest for AI that's smarter than us. It's a lot.
It really is. A whirlwind tour of the AI landscape, but an important one.
Right. Because it's easy to get lost in all the headlines, but when you take a step back,
Yeah.
see the bigger picture, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It can be a lot to take in, for sure,
Right.
especially if you're not, following every little thing.
Which is why we're here,
Yeah.
to connect the dots, right?
Exactly. We're here to make sense of it all.
Make you sound smart at your next dinner party. Or, at least impress your cat. Speaking of smart, though, I've got a question.
Okay, shoot.
We've talked a lot about the big players in AI, right?
Yeah.
Apple, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI.
Yeah, they get a lot of the attention, for sure.
But what about everyone else? The smaller companies, the startups?
Oh, you mean like the unsung heroes?
Mhm.
The ones working behind the scenes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because innovation, it doesn't always come from these big tech giants.
True.
Right. Sometimes the most groundbreaking ideas, they come from the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. People who are willing to take risks, who see things differently. And that's crucial in a field like AI, right?
Yeah.
Because the possibilities are practically endless.
Right.
You need that diversity of thought.
So while we're watching the AI chess match unfold between these big companies,
Right.
we should also keep an eye on the sidelines.
Exactly. Because the next game-changing move, it could come from anywhere.
Love that. Look beyond the headlines, explore the fringes. Who knows? Maybe one of our listeners will be the next big AI innovator. Which is a good reminder, right? It's easy to get overwhelmed by all this, but it's also a really exciting time.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. We're living in this era of, unbelievable technological change.
It's like we're living in the future.
And AI is at the heart of it all.
And as we've been saying, it's not just about the tech, right? It's about us, the choices we make, the
Right.
questions we ask, the future we want to build. With AI, we have the power to shape that future.
I like that. We have the power. But it's a power we need to use responsibly.
Couldn't agree more. On that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Big thanks to everyone for joining us.
It's been a pleasure as always.
And remember, stay curious out there, stay informed.
Keep asking those big questions.
And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one making headlines in the AI world someday. See you next time.